Close. Hey everybody, how's it going?
Happy
Welcome
Wednesday.
to.
How are you, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Doing well. It's always good when it's Wednesday, halfway through the week. It's the perfect time to have a show.
Yeah, exactly right. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to do a little bit of discussion about different topics today. A lot of stuff to share. A lot of fun stuff going down. Yeah, so it's been a fun week. I've been a little busy, so
Yeah.
it'll be cool.
Well, you've told me about something that you've been working on, but in fact, I just want you to show us. It's pretty cool. But it's something that you've built that could be used, but it's more of a centerpiece.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, so I built this. Actually, I built this today. I got it in yesterday. Yeah, I showed it to you when I was going to order it, or
Right.
when I did order it, but it finally came in. So I put together. This is actually a working model of the 555 chip, timing chip, and that's a chip that I use in my ghost boxes. So, and this is actually a working model of that chip. So it's pretty cool. You can connect the 9-volt battery to it, and then it has all the different different connectors for the board. It has the output, the reset, the threshold, the control voltage, the discharge, the trigger. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, and you know what? It really, the person who designed that so that you could put it together especially at that size, it looks spectacular. Even from where you're sitting, I can see the definition and detail in it. It's really nice.
No, it's really freaking nice. And then all the, resistors and stuff. So it's really cool. It really only took me like, I don't know, 20 minutes to put it together.
That's not bad at all.
Really quick at soldering. So I think stuffing the board took me the longest. Actually, you know what? No, trimming all the wires afterwards, after I soldered, that probably took me the longest.
Right. Yeah, that's always the tedious work always takes the most amount of time.
Yeah, stuffing the board wasn't hard. I mean, it was pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool.
Well, it's a very nice addition to the studio.
No, exactly. And that, even though it's a working model, that even makes it better.
Exactly. Yeah. Worst case scenario, you can build an oversized radio or device of some kind and use that. Although I think it's perfect the way it is. You've got plenty of other ones that are palm size or even smaller that you'll use for something else.
No, exactly. So no, that one's a perfect model for display.
Right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Yeah. And oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say, we'll talk about your radio later and the implementation of that, depending on when you want to bring that up. And then we've got some other topics to bring up, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. It's just, no, it's just a perfect segue for what we're doing and what we're talking about. So, no, it's been a crazy week. Just on a lot of different things that I've been working on, a lot of different experiments I've been doing, and just, I'm just like crazy excited with what I discovered. Some of the things that I stumbled across, making some adjustments to my circuit and stuff. It's just, oh my God, I don't know.
Hey,
just
Katie, Ben.
Having that freaking adjustment that I added to the board that you and I use, it's just opened up a whole new level on communication. So it's just crazy on what we discovered. Actually, you discovered it. I just
I mean, we're a team, right? We're a team. So that's how it worked out.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you were beta testing stuff, so
Right.
Just with what we stumbled upon, and then doing more and more research,
Right.
Um, just on what controls we have over that chip is just like, oh my god.
Right.
And now with what we discovered today, um, and how the cycle is just randomly. I mean, it's scanning so fast that it's just
Right.
really strange. It's still mind blowing on what it's doing.
Right. And I think it would be worthwhile. I don't know if we can get to all of it during this show or a future show, but to talk about exactly what's going on in that mode and exactly that we know the radio is scanning, but we can explain in more detail how the the pulse and the frequency become. I don't know if the word is decoupled, but they become in a free run mode. They're no longer locked by phase. And then
Yeah, controlled.
right. So and
Um,
then right.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, and I was going to say we can get into that more detail. It's pretty tiresome to kind of go through all the mathematics and the detail in that now. I don't know if that's something we want to just jump into, but at the same time, it is worth mentioning.
No, I mean it's just because somebody asked. It was asked during when you put the box in that mode where you turn the scan rate all the way up to where you don't even hear it scanning anymore, but you still can tell the radio scanning, but it's not scanning linear anymore, if that makes sense.
Right. It's adding a randomness to that scan because it's in what I guess you would call a free run mode or a free run PLL or phase lock loop. It basically runs, nothing is adjoined anymore.
No, and I didn't even know how to explain it until you started doing more research on what was happening.
Well, and that's what I want to do is now we kind of discovered it today and it was almost too late for me in the day to prepare it for the show, but I do want to put something together and we can maybe even demonstrate it next time exactly what's going on in that mode and kind of show the inner workings of it because I think people are curious and I think it's people want to know what's going on and understand it and maybe further their research or knowledge and maybe they'll come back and say, hey, I saw what you did, what about trying this? I mean, you never know what can become of that. But
yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, Kate, it's a billion degrees in here. I mean, shit, I don't even have I don't have any
It's hot.
batteries at my temperature. I could turn this on and figure it out. I bet you it's probably at least 98 degrees in here. I'm not joking.
Katie, you said pseudo or genuine random. Well,
I think it's general. I mean, genuine random.
that we literally talked about this and kind of did the research and kind of came to a conclusion of the research right before the show started or right before we'd have dinner and working the whole situation. So we haven't really addressed everything, but we realized what was going on in that mode because there are other variables outside of the timing circuit that are also contributing to the factor of how the radio is scanning and what it's picking up exactly and when it's picking up that signal.
And here's why we think it's random or genuinely random because the box will go silent. It could go silent for 5 minutes without picking up anything. And then other times it'll pick up something like every 15 seconds. And then it might go silent again for another 5 minutes or 2 minutes or even a minute. And then it'll pick something else up. And then all of a sudden it goes silent for several minutes. And then another response will come through. It's just all over the place and it's unpredictable. And there's no way to control it because you're basically cranking up the sweep all the way up, but then the duty cycle's taking over. So the duty cycle's turned up to scanning at it's about what 400 millisecond or 400 megahertz. Is it? That's the max. I think it's 400 megahertz.
Katie's asking if there's drift, and yes, drift is almost an extreme form of jitter, and there is jitter, but it's inaudible. And what happens though is it's almost like it becomes so unstable. It's like almost disconnecting a clock that controls digital frequencies or multiple electrical systems, and everything just kind of runs at its own natural frequency. So they say it's decoupling, but I think that's more of a term for power on a PCB board. But at the same time, it almost acts like that. So there is a lot of drift or jitter that we've measured. And that's why the rabbit hole goes so deep, because we've learned more, but we still know 3%. Like the box has been built, but at the same time, there's so many features that we didn't realize we're capable with this timer chip in this combination. Did I say that right?
No, yeah, that's right. And just reading the manual on the chip, it doesn't really, I don't know. I mean, it kind of explains it, but it's all theory, pretty much. And that's basically what we came up with. It was because it's so random. We never know when a response is going to come through. And we figured that it's not even scanning the FM frequency anymore. The frequencies are piggybacking off of the signal. Did I say that right?
We think, in theory, yeah. We're still looking into that. I guess it's almost, I have to do more research and study more, because it's something that's even beyond anything I've researched so far. So I know very little about it. I mean, I understand how the timer chip works, but what we can combine, or the combinations that we can, I guess, is the word continue to improve on? I don't know. I don't know how much further you want to go with the box, but
honestly,
I have ideas.
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't know. I have other things I have to work on. So,
would any of those happen to involve white noise at all?
No.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to be using white noise specifically.
No. So I'm working on something else to use no radio frequencies at all. I want to go outside of the realm, try something totally different. There's not going to be any radio involved at all.
Okay.
So that's something that I'm working on. I've been experimenting with it, and oh my god, it's like crazy. Just the energy that it generates. It's almost like you walking in from a busy street, into a, what is it called? A dynamic. It's not. Is it a dynamic sound room
or soundproof room? I mean, just in general, soundproof.
Yeah, just
control
sound.
room.
Yeah, it's like walking in from a really busy street, literally, like in downtown New York or L.A., and directly walking off the street into a soundproof room. Your body just like totally. It's like all the energy was just sucked out of you. It's just really crazy. That's the effect that's going on. So anyway, that's just something that we're working on.
Yeah. We'll continue to update you. Yeah. And we'll give a more detailed outlook on that, because some people have asked about that. So, because we discovered it again too late, we couldn't prepare anything for this show. So we'll prepare something for next show. Very good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically what's happening. I know that we're talking about, this show kind of can go all over the place. We can get very technical like we are now, or we can just talk about the paranormal in general or whatever. We just try to educate people on spirit communication, ghost boxes, ITC, or anything paranormal.
But always give us feedback, because at the same time, we don't know how deep some people want us to go in terms of the mathematics and how things are built, or if you just want us to stay surface level and talk about our neighbor has a haunted, house and there's ghosts in there, whatever. Let us know what you want us to talk about, and we can address that. So just give us feedback. We're open-minded.
Exactly.
Well, maybe we should just get to the topic at hand based on the feedback.
Which topic do you want to get to?
Well, in working with the radio and, talking with our friends, Steve and Katie Holte, and other box builders about noise and circuits and how this whole thing is going down, and how the technology with the radio can either continue, fork off in another direction, whatever the case is, the conversation always comes back to noise. And it always comes back, even in my job, working in audio engineering, sound engineering, noise is always a contributor to something good and also a contributor to something bad, but it always comes up, right? And I mean, I know with building your box, I mean, you can attest to the noise issues in building your chip. Do you want to with the
So, okay, here's the thing. So, God, where did it even start? I mean, I could give props to certain people. I know people would hate me for it.
well, then let me continue while you're thinking of those people. Let me jump in here. The question always comes up is not so much noise, but I've noticed in the communities, people talking, paranormal investigators, it always comes up to white noise. White noise. Why white noise? Why do we go to white noise? And we talked about this, Rob, but essentially what Rob and I have found, and other researchers have found, it's not just us, we're not the first ones to come up with this idea by any means, but specifically white noise is not required for ITC. White noise is not required. Does it help? Yes. Does it contribute to communication? Absolutely. Absolutely. We are not saying it doesn't.
It can.
Yes. But is it solely required? Is it a requirement? In other words, if we didn't have white noise, would we still get ITC? And I'm saying yes. White noise is not a sole requirement. It does help, but it's not a sole requirement.
And here's why. When you're doing an EVP session, are you running white noise at the same time to get a response during an EVP session?
Good
No.
point.
When you capture a voice on a video camera, or you hear an ambient voice when you're in a location, was white noise used at that time? No. So just doing a lot of different things with me using the circuit that I am using that has no white noise at all. The white noise was removed from there. And I have gotten a lot of voices coming through that I can't explain them. They're not coming through radio broadcast because of what we were talking about. With the way that the chip works, and it starts randomly scanning different frequencies. I'm not getting any radio stations coming through. There's no music coming through. It's really strange on how all of that goes out the window when in that mode. You don't get songs coming through. It's weird.
Yeah, there is a small percentage of error. I think on a few occasions I have gotten something, because it's not a perfect system.
No, exactly.
But I do understand what you're saying. But I think the biggest question we get asked is why white noise? A lot of people throw the word around, but why? And white noise is essentially a random signal that comes from a stochastic process where all audible frequencies that the human can hear, that's where we cap it off, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. All frequencies in there are represented by an equal sound intensity level. So it's basically a flat response. The benefit to this is a process called stochastic resonance. And that is because white noise, and I'm going to say they, for the lack of better words, spirit communication, however you want to look at it. I don't have proof. I'm not an expert, but I'll just say they. They require vibration or frequency, it appears, to communicate. So the white noise gives them a toolbox with every tool possible. Humans can hear 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. Here's every frequency between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz at an equal sound intensity level. Pick what you need. Because we're not so certain exactly what they need. So we just throw everything at the wall and say, pick something. So stochastic resonance.
At the wall and see what sticks.
Well, yeah, in a way, that's what white noise is. We're saying, here's everything. Do something with it. So here's the issue with stochastic resonance, and this is what happens. It is a phenomenon where the white noise provides these frequencies, and it resonates with the frequencies that they're using, and it amplifies. It amplifies a weak signal. Okay. This weak signal is then amplified, and we pick it up or record it. Again, I'm being very general with my terms right now. Again, this is theory, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
There's
and you
also
have to remember, everything's just a theory.
right.
That's all we're doing. Everything that we don't say that this is, what this is something that everybody should follow. It's just theories that we're following and we're trying to improve upon. That's it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I'm not presenting this as proof. This is something to think about, right? But we're trying to figure out why white noise. And there is a process, again, called stochastic resonance, where the frequencies of the white noise can help amplify the weak signals that they're using so they can be heard. There's also a process called inverse stochastic resonance, where white noise can actually attenuate or quiet a weak signal, right? So the opposite can also happen. So you might be seeing the downside of white noise, right? There's no free lunch. There's no free lunch, especially with a pressure wave, especially with what we're talking about. This leads to the white noise pros and cons. And again, we've talked about it. The white noise provides equal sound intensity level frequencies between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. It actually extends outside of that range, but we're talking about the audible range of human hearing. The positive to this is we give them an entire toolbox to work with. The downside to this, again, is a situation where we might be, through inverse stochastic resonance, reducing frequencies that we want to hear. There's also an issue with the psychoacoustic properties of white noise, and we've talked about this before. But white noise is going to impact everyone differently. It's not a fixed variable that affects everyone the same way. And if you notice, there's some people that listen to a noisy radio and get a headache after 2 minutes, a genuine headache. And there's some people that can listen to a noisy radio for an hour and be fine. Those are psychoacoustic properties. So that's a variable of the human body that we have to keep in mind in very realistic, measurable ways. Is how this affects the human body, how these frequencies affect the human body. Let me give you an example of how white noise can help and not help in a situation. And these are kind of just real world examples. We've already talked about how it can help. Provides all these frequencies at equal intensity level so they can pick and choose what they need, in theory. But think about how white noise can also block sound. I have a friend that lives in a very busy city, and he couldn't sleep at night when he moved into this new apartment. It was too loud, even with the windows down, doors closed, the whole thing. It's just too loud. So I said, get a white noise machine. He said, why? And I said, well, it's going to create an inverse stochastic resonance and block out the outside world. You turn it on, all you're going to hear is that noise machine and what's going on in your apartment. You're not going to hear the outside world, right? So he gets the white noise machine, lo and behold, it works. White noise can also isolate you in a room and create an effect where you don't hear anything outside of the room. Again, if placed properly, sound reflection, the whole thing. There are other variables. So white noise is no free lunch. It has its benefits and it has its drawbacks. Everything is balance. So when we talk about white noise, we really have to balance out the pros and the cons. A lot of people want to inject white noise into a ghost box, into an EVP recorder, and that's great. I encourage the experimentation, but we can't just blindly apply something. We have to consider all of these variables.
No, that's exactly right. And it's funny how, the SB7 is going full circle. It started off with zero white noise. Then white noise was implemented into the box. And now they're implementing a device to remove the white noise out of the box. It's funny how it's just going full circle.
Right.
And a lot of people were, it started off where somebody was using a noise gate to remove the white noise. And but when people were doing that, they were affecting the responses that you were getting because it's It's cutting out the low frequencies, and the low frequency is what you want. You don't want to cut out that low frequency, or I should say the high frequency. It's reversed. Um, so yeah, it's just funny on how people are trying to remove that now. Um, but anyway, that's where this whole conversation started,
Well,
and
right,
then plus implementing certain things with my ghost box, where there's no static. We started noticing a trend, um, with the responses that you were getting, and then you came to me and said, "Did you know this?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then he showed it to me, and I was like blown away. And then we started experimenting with it, here with a couple of ghost boxes, and it was like, holy crap, what the hell
right,
did you stumble onto? And then we just perfected it more and more. But
right. Uh, to address someone's comment really quick, Donna says, "Guy in the right corner needs to shut up. We know about white noise." Donna, you'd be surprised how many people don't know what white noise is. You'd be surprised how many people think they know what white noise is, but they're just hearing it from someone else and they think it has to be a part of the equation. There is a large group of people that don't understand frequency white noise, and that's okay. We're here to educate about that, but that's why we're talking about such a basic concept. Um, Inverse stochastic resonance is also a new phenomenon that's been recorded. That's more of a recent occurrence. So there's a lot of things with noise that we're still finding out. We can never stop learning about something. Right when we think we know everything about one particular topic, that's when we stop growing, we stop learning, we stop progressing forward. So, but if you have some information about white noise you would like to share with us, if I'm missing something, please share it. This is an open discussion. I'm hoping to learn something. If you know something I don't, please, I'm dying to learn more about this because I want to progress forward.
Katie, that was one of the reasons what got me into doing this and trying to figure things out. I really don't know if I should say it, Josh. I really don't. Josh and I were laughing about something today because he really kind of hit the nail on the head with two people that, because I said, Josh, how in the hell did I get here where we are today? And he said, Rob, you can thank two people.
Well, and those names don't have to. Let's not say the name. But yes, there are two people. There are two people.
There's two people out there that really got me to this. One is somebody we all hate, and the other person we just adore because of
hate's a strong word.
Well, we just don't agree with. Let's just say that
motivation comes from many different places.
We don't agree on that person's practices. Let's just put it that way. And then the other person was somebody that created a box, and his box was incredible.
Right.
Just with the radios would die after a short period of time because of, I think it was just the circuit that he was using would kill the radio. I mean, that was it. So,
well, and the discussion continues because I don't know how many people have experience with colored noise or how popular that is, but it's something that's very prominent in my industry in sound engineering, especially with analog to digital converters and different processes. But we have found, Rob, and we've discussed this many times, but blue noise and violet noise that's used in the process of implementing analog to digital conversion to help dither or smooth out a waveform populates EVP very well. I mean, blue noise and violet noise, this is something that you can all try. You can find programs that you can experiment with different colored noises, and you can try this yourself. So colored noises have also proven very successful. Pink noise, and I believe there's people experimenting with this, but there are different colored noises, and these frequencies are shaped differently. They don't all act or have the properties of white noise, where again, the frequencies are all at an equal sound intensity level. So there's a lot of experimentation to do with colored noises as well.
So here's something that Katie responded. I was looking for this. Josh's motivation for me was he kept on kicking me in the ass to keep on moving forward because I was ready. I just said, you know what, Josh, I'm done. I don't want to do this. And I said, I build these boxes for fun, but people are, yes, I was selling boxes here and there, whatever. Um, but I was like, dude, I'm just like done. I really, I did it. I'm done with it. But he just said, no, you need to push forward. There's more work you have to get done on this. So that's the motivation that he got me to. And then I just kept on experimenting with different things. And I was like, dude, look at what I just stumbled across. And then he was just blown away every time I would do something. I would just take it to the next level. And I don't know, it was just things I was experimenting with. Um, and that's where we are today.
Yeah, and we're a good team because we both have experience in sound, so we kick ideas back and forth, and it's going to progress forward. Katie had a really good comment, very good critical question, and I like this question. She says, "Are you not concerned you're doing what you hate, removing potential communication?" And Katie, that's an excellent question. That's why I want to move forward to see what the potential, the possibility is with this circuit or this design or this box, just like any ghost box that's built. I feel like we assume too much too soon that there's more potential in terms of how it can be built. And I think that's part of the goal. Is we might be doing that, we might not, but I think that's what's kind of motivated us to go forward. Is, can it get better? Or can we improve it? Or are we doing that? Are we doing exactly what we don't want to do? It's an excellent question.
Yeah. With some of the things that I've been experimenting with, but right now, like what I just posted a demo, a video demo today, and I'm just like, I was blown away when I got to that point where I am right now with the circuit, and then I just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm not touching this thing anymore. This box is done. I'm not touching it. I'm not building any more boxes. I need to move forward with my research. But with and it's funny how Josh said, dude, you're putting like a cocktail together.
It's a
um
cocktail of frequencies, right?
it's a cocktail of frequencies that are working together.
Mhm.
And it's weird because I'm using different frequencies together. I'm not even using a radio frequency during these. I am, but I'm not. um I'm using my ghost box while implementing other frequencies into the environment, and the outcome has just been mind-blowing. And that's why I said I'm onto something. That's what I need to work on. That's why I need to keep on moving forward. So I'm just excited for the next things to come. But as far as building any more circuits or modifying the circuit, I'm done. It's going to stop for a while. And it might just stay where it's at.
Really? We'll see. Katie, you had a really good question. You mentioned UV noise, blue violet. I actually had, I didn't get this to Rob in time. Excuse me. We have blue noise. Let me see if I can show this to you. Well, you know what? Let me start with a baseline really quick. Hold on a second. I have an idea. This is, I hope we can see this. Can you see this? Is that coming out, Rob?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that's white noise. That's all the frequencies between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz represented at equal sound intensity level. Again, it's a stochastic process, so it is a random process, but there's the toolkit we give them to help communicate. Now, Katie, this is blue noise. And this increases at approximately 3 decibels per octave at an upward sloping line. So it doesn't provide everything white noise does, but it's also providing the process for stochastic resonance to occur, which again, in theory, we believe helps the communication. And I have violet here. Where is it? Here it is. I can't see anything. These lights get too hot. I can't turn them on. Okay. This is violet noise. And this is double the decibels per octave. The slope is more steep. And I think it's around 6 or 6.02 decibels per octave. And these noises are very gentle on the human ear, and they can be hidden very well. and implemented in ITC in a way that you're providing stochastic resonance. You're avoiding inverse stochastic resonance, but you're still giving them the frequencies and tools to help amplify a weak signal. Again, in theory. So that's blue and violet. And again, that's used a lot in analog to digital conversion. It helps reduce jitter. It helps increase dynamic range in the process of analog to digital conversion. And that's the process of an analog waveform being transferred via voltage to zeros and ones in a digital circuit. And that blue and violet noise has been used in mastering and music to help almost boost a sound, but it's inaudible to the human ear. Now, again, anything in too much, anything that's overdone will cause a law of diminishing returns, and then eventually you'll be doing the opposite effect. But those are two noises that are used quite a bit with sound. What do you think, Rob?
No, it's good. No, that was great. I mean, with you showing those graphs, it was perfect. That was perfect information.
I wanted to get these over to you, but you know the days we both had. So, guys, I literally came home, and I'm like, I'm going old school. Like, I'm not young, guys. You know, I wrote flashcards as a kid when I studied in school, always for definitions and learning a foreign language or something. So I came home and I made flashcards of these curves, and I'm like, no one's going to care about this. You know, people fall asleep. But let me show you here.
Dude, I think a lot of people get bored of talking about ITC stuff anyway. But
yeah, this isn't a pop and show. Yeah,
no,
I get it.
No, right? But no, I'm not saying that at all. But you know what? We have to educate people. I mean, that's part of what we do. And like with us, like a lot of people that are really into, you know, sound. I mean, we love hearing about this, and people that want to learn about ITC, they're going to love this topic. So, you know, anyway.
I appreciate graphs and visuals to understand stuff. Yeah, no, I cut them out. I had fun too. I had a little time. I put something on TV and I was cutting this out, having a great time. Oh, here's an interesting one. I want to show everyone. This one is actually the most interesting to me, and this is the one I want to start working with more. But it's gray noise. Gray noise. Now, here's what's interesting about gray noise. Gray noise is not the human ear, the human body cannot tell the difference between white noise and gray noise. Psychoacoustically, they are perceived the same by our human ear in general. But gray noise does not have equal intensity across all frequencies. In fact, it's engineered to be psychoacoustically loud for the human. So that curve that you're seeing is perceived as flat by our ears. In other words, if we listen to gray noise and then white noise, we can't tell the difference. But look at the extreme nature of this graph as gray noise.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then now look, I'm just super organized. And now look at white noise. This isn't going to work, is it? Okay, there you go. So,
but isn't brown noise pretty much almost the same thing too?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Brown noise or pink noise?
No, they have a different curve. And those pink noise and brown noise, we can perceive differently. There's even forms of noisy black, noisy green, green noise. There's all sorts of variations. But gray noise is interesting because it's something that we perceive as flat, yet you can see the curve. Those frequencies are not equal at all. So that's something I want to work with as well. EVP can be captured in gray noise. People have done it before. But I just wanted to point out that white noise, and Rob, we were talking about this, just isn't mandatory solely as a form of communication. It's about frequency. If we can provide the frequencies that can resonate or help resonate, increase stochastic resonance, whatever those frequencies are, in whatever mixture, in whatever combination, stochastic resonance can happen. It doesn't have to happen through white noise, although white noise, because it carries all frequencies at equal sound intensity level, it is a good toolkit to use. It's kind of the starting point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to play some background music that I was using for the show on Saturday. But oh man, that's going to create that crazy effect again. To me, it's so relaxing. I rather listen to it, but it's going to create that crazy effect again. I just wanted to do it. Well, I don't know.
So
Maybe I'll just play it. Go ahead.
this
I
is pink.
just don't want to be distracting though either.
This is pink noise. Oh, you can play whatever you want. It's fine. I'm just holding up the graph of pink noise.
I have
And
pink noise with this mixed in with this tone.
oh, you do? Okay, there you go. So we're hearing with pink noise a drop of minus roughly 3 decibels per octave, and it's providing those frequencies in that waveform that you see here. And that's what Rob is using. That's what you're playing right now, correct?
Yeah, it's music and mixed with pink noise.
Right.
I don't know if you can hear the tone.
It's very quiet in my headphones, and I'm cranked.
I think it's more it's more like for ambient noise for my location when I'm doing experiments. And I use this during the Saturday show. But I mean, like I said, the environment just gets crazy, and it started getting really heavy when I did this experiment when I was doing a ghost box session.
Right. It's oscillating too. I can hear it. It sounds like it. It's oscillating.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Right. Interesting. Is that this? It's a sine wave. It's hard to hear. It's very quiet in my headphones.
No, I mean it is quiet too.
Oh, okay. Maybe the nature of it's just quiet. Okay.
It is a little quiet. I mean, it's loud here, but
right.
Well, that's what it is. This is exactly the Ghost in the Machine frequency. It's the Ghost in the Machine frequency mixed with pink noise. Let me change the track. Here's another Ghost in the Machine frequency. It might be a little quiet.
Oh, there we go. Katie.
Yeah, I mean, it can cause. I mean, different. It's going to affect different people different. For me, with spirit communication, it goes through the roof. Yeah, I don't see anything physically, but there was a lot of things happening in the location. We're hearing things being thrown. We're hearing bangs. We're hearing all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
But it's pretty crazy. And then with the communication that was happening with just disembodied voices and things like that, it was crazy. And other people were hearing the same voices. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll stop it because I'm just gonna get like really like in the zone.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Rob's leaving us, guys. It's just gonna be me again running the show. See you, Rob.
Yeah, no, I'll just kind of get in the zone. So yeah, I'm not gonna play that right now.
And I can't play anything from my end. I think I'm limited to sharing my screen, or I can't share my screen or play anything from me. But I mean, this is essentially that was pink noise that you played. So that was a really good example because we talked about pink noise. And there's all sorts of other avenues to pursue that, Rob, we've talked about moving forward, I guess, and also not only working, well, you're talking about not building again. I'm not going to let that happen, but working on ghost boxes, working on studying frequencies. A lot of our colleagues and friends are doing the same thing. It's important to research this and just learn as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and we don't have all the answers. I mean, it's just everything that we're testing out. It's I mean, we're kind of going by theory. And then it's funny how working in a controlled environment, but kind of also our theories are we're kind of getting answers to our theories. It's kind of weird,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's helping us ask better questions in terms of which direction to move in and how to proceed with it, basically. And I mean, it's just opened up a whole new door of questions because it's not stagnant. We're just moving forward the more we're learning. And that's what I think when people, again, threw the phrase white noise around, and I don't know our audience, I don't know how much they know about it, but it's just a lot of people still to this day think it's an absolute part of the equation. It has to be there. And that's just not necessarily true. And that's
No.
basically the question we wanted to answer, because we get asked that a lot, actually. We get asked, what does it have to be there? And it doesn't. It helps. It's amazing, but it doesn't have to be there.
No, I mean, there's just so much like what Steve, you just hit the nail on the head. There's so much crap out there. And I've talked to him about this too. I mean, there's a lot of things. You know what? Oh my God, you guys are both like hitting the nail on the head. Do you know how? Well, here's the thing. It's funny because
Hi, Melissa.
if you look at my setup on the side to my left, so you'll see the skull, you'll see a black mirror, you'll see a salt lamp, you'll see a crystal ball. People on my Saturday show started getting really religious on me. And when people get religious on me, I just basically, any religious questions that they start throwing at me, I just disagree with them just
on purpose.
Just to shut them up. Just like, do you believe in God? No. Do you believe in the devil? No. And then the people just start saying, well, you're stupid. Blah, blah, blah.
Do you not believe in God? No. Do you not believe in the devil? No. Just everything's no.
Yeah. It's like, it's like, come on, people, don't be ridiculous. Everybody has their own beliefs. Just because I have these relics that I'm using, it's a ritual. You have to remember a lot of the things that we do are ritual. They all go back to pagan beliefs. So I use that type of environment because what I'm doing on Saturdays, it's a ritual. You're trying to do spirit communication. You're trying to raise your vibrations to communicate with spirit. So there's a lot of things that you do.
Right. Jessica's right.
Yeah, no, exactly. You never talk about politics or religion.
Hi, Joy.
That's just a thing. And you know what? So, so anyway, you have to understand what we're doing and you have to respect on what we're doing. Yes, because we're trying to contact spirit. Yes, I'm going back using different methods that I believe in. So you just have to leave it at that. Anyway.
And I didn't realize you were getting that a lot on the Saturday show. I don't think that's happened.
No, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I just ignore them, or I just say, you know what, I don't believe. If somebody asks me anything religious, I just either ignore it, or if they're persistent on it, I just say, yeah, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in whatever you're saying. Period.
Or just answer randomly. Like 14. Do you believe in God? Green. I don't know. Just
usually that just it makes them leave. They just don't like it. They don't like what I just said, and they leave. So it's. I would rather them do that than me just ban them from. I because I can boot them. I can ban them, but I don't do that. I just like, you know what, whatever.
They'll leave when they're not going to hang around too long and heckle you. I mean, no, they'll leave. They'll move along.
Exactly.
It's true.
Unless somebody's being, racist or something, then I'll ban them.
Well, sure, there's a fine line in the sand, of course.
Yeah, there's that fine line. But anyway,
expressing freedom of speech is one thing. I get it.
Yeah, but sorry for going on a little rant there. But I mean, I was just talking about.
You can simply just say we're researching frequency. That's all this is researching frequency. It's frequency. That's where we're at. That's where everyone's at with their projects. No matter if you're working on a radio, it doesn't matter what it is that's basically our connection. That's what we have to work with, that we know we have to work with. And that's really, I mean, that's what you can tell them. That might right there, they'll be like, what are you doing? I'm out of here. That sounds dumb.
But see, and the funny thing is people don't know my background. So, yes, I might have a Hispanic surname, but I'm French and I'm Indian. So, a lot of my ancestors were, they were Indian. So and from what I've heard and what I've learned about my, people in my family, my ancestors, they were doing a lot of rituals. So, that maybe that's where I get it from. I don't know. Maybe that's how I'm connected.
Right.
I don't know. But, I'm just following my ancestors. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
But no, Ben, it wasn't you that was saying anything. No, because we were talking about screwing. There was just somebody else that was on the show that was just, he would not stop. He would not stop. So that's why I just said it.
Right.
It wasn't you, Ben.
Okay. Can I address really quick? First of all, C. Beth Rage, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. I know you're new. Thank you for joining us. You had a really good question. Have you ever experimented with water or the sound of running water in spirit? I have experimented with water, and it's funny because we were talking about colored noise this evening. And actually water gives off a tendency, or it favors blue or violet noise. In other words, water, of all the noise you can hear of water, what's accentuated the most is blue and violet noise. And again, that's what's used in my research and my experiments with A to D conversion and jitter and clocking and things like this. But I'll show you again, water can be measured to pick up blue and violet noise. Blue and violet noise. And the only difference is violet noise is multiplied, or it's multiplied by 2 in terms of the decibels per octave. So that's interesting that you mentioned that. But yes, water is a good conduit to provide that noise for stochastic resonance. Again, in theory, but that's a very good question. Rob, have you experimented with water?
I have experimented with water. We used to run water when conducting ITC or EVP sessions. We've tried a running shower. We've tried a running sink. We've tried filling a tub full of water and just filling up. So scooping up water into like a vase or a pitcher, and then just pouring it back into the tub. And that it kind of helped with the generation or generating EVP. It was pretty interesting.
Right. And you know what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just to answer, where was it? I think it was Robert. So there's actually feathers on top of the skull. And then there's a couple of there's feathers and beads hanging off of it also. So those are just feathers blowing because I turned on a fan because it's just so hot in here.
Right.
That's all.
If I may, real quick, Rob, I just wanted to close out the water session. Real quick. I have something I want to show. The blue and violet noise that water emits, that can be measured or recorded, if you will. What's interesting about that is how many of us at some point or another have heard running water or been by a waterfall or a stream or some type of moving water, and it helps you fall asleep. It helps you relax, right? That's the psychoacoustic properties of that noise on the human body. And what's interesting is blue and violet noise, they seem to have those properties because, again, in the field I work in terms of analog to digital conversion, music production, blue and violet noise is inserted to help the process work, help resonate frequencies, and help increase, again, the dynamic range of the music, the clarity of the music. It's interesting. So noise can help in that way. But I do find it, is it synchronous? Is it coincidence that blue and violet noise psychoacoustically to the human body is very relaxing and it's very soft to us, and at the same time it's the noise that water it generates or emits. So there is that interesting connection there with blue and violet noise.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's just like with what Katie said, the frequency of sound will actually move water. It's
Right,
pretty amazing when
right.
you do that. It's pretty cool. We did an experiment using a bass or using a sub, and then there was like this liquid. It was almost like a gel. It was really
Mhm.
weird that we poured it into a container that fit perfectly inside of the of the of the contour of the sub, and just watching the frequencies make the water move or dance, and the shape that it was making, it was like, wow, it's really cool. It's just like frequencies, like when you pour a bunch of sand on a glass table, and you put a speaker underneath it, and you play different frequencies, and the
Mhm.
sand kind of makes different shapes.
Mhm.
It's really cool on how that works.
Right. And Katie made a comment earlier about, thank you for the comment, Katie, that really there's so many avenues to explore. And that, even talking about white noise again, how long have we really been able to research white noise? I mean, think about that. How long have we had the technology and the measurement tools and capabilities to measure noise? We're in the infancy of understanding white noise. So to say that everyone, I'm sorry to pick on one of our commenters in the comment section tonight, but again, when you say we already know about white noise, honestly, I could probably ask you 5 questions and I could stump you about white noise. That you'd be like, wait, what? I don't know the answer to that, because it's still a topic we're researching. I'm still learning about noise every single day I go to my job. So there's no possible way that these topics could get old. And sometimes we have to rehash old topics because that leads to new forks in the road or new research that maybe we need to revisit and move on to. So there's always, you can never stop learning, and some topics just have to be discussed in detail.
But see, it's not only noise; it's frequency in general. That's
Well,
what we're
sure.
talking about.
Noise is frequency, right?
I mean, it's everything. And like I always say, you have to. I mean, with people carrying around,
Not
gear.
you, Katie, not you.
No, I'm just saying when people carry around paranormal um, equipment or different equipment to research the paranormal, you have to understand how those devices work. There's certain man-made frequencies that are going to set those devices off, and people will kind of say, "Oh my God, look, this device is going off. It must be a ghost." Ghosts can are There's a lot of devices out there that just because they're going off, there's an explanation onto why those devices are going off. Just because a K2 meter is going off doesn't mean that a spirit is setting that meter off. There, it's all, you have to study frequency.
Right.
What can be affecting this device?
Right.
There's so much out there that there's so many things out there that can affect a device. And I talked about this before, being, when I was doing a lot of research for wireless interference. Oh my God, it helped me so much in this field because I started learning frequency. What causes different frequencies to go off? What can cause, my millimeter to spike, have, all of a sudden just have a spike of 100 milligauss or whatever. What can cause this K2 meter just to start going off randomly? What can cause, this other device to go off randomly? Um, there's a lot of different frequencies that cause those devices to be hit.
Mhm.
Um, you can be walking next to a Wi-Fi router, and that's going to set off those devices. because of the frequencies that those devices put out. When you walk by, 5G, when 5G first started being developed and it was being beta tested, there was so much interference that 5G puts out. A plasma TV puts off RF interference for up to a quarter mile. Imagine walking in front of a plasma TV,
They're
what that
horrible. Yeah.
does to your body. And if you ever walk in front of a plasma TV, it's so hot, it puts out so much heat. But the frequency that device can put out, that RF interference that device can put out, can be it travels for a quarter mile. Um,
Yeah, it can be
so
picked, it can be detected. Absolutely. It can be measured. Sure.
yeah, and so there's so much with with um, with EMI. So, and that's what people don't understand. People will say, "Well, what's EMI?" EMI is electromagnetic interference. A lot of people say, "Well, that's EMF." No, EMF is different. So you have to understand, when a lot of these devices were designed to pick up EMI frequency. So why people carry around electrician tools to study the paranormal, I don't know. It's just crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's really truly understanding what you're doing with the equipment, and not it's I think, and I don't know what the cause is, but I feel like I've talked to a lot of people, and respectfully, I think there's this fairy dust approach to it where I don't know how this works, but I've seen it work and I'm going to use it. I'm going to go try it myself. And I feel like that's, I'm really happy for that motivation. But at the same time, we really need to understand how the equipment works. And because we don't want to waste our time. People have families and lives and things to do. So when you are investigating, you are doing this research, you really want to make sure you're spending your time wisely. You're working smarter, not harder. You're understanding your equipment. And that's really important. Robert said in audio applications, yeah, blue noise. And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Blue and purple noise in ADD conversion, reducing jitter, increasing dynamic range, and especially used if you have a good system that can produce a 64-bit or 32-bit floating point, then the dither process is really painless in terms of how it's processed. The dither that I've been most frequently exposed to is 24-bit to 16-bit when you're going to CD or in the mastering process. But it's part of my research right now, and I'm working on clock frequency, the crystals that are baked at a certain temperature to reach a certain frequency. I'm working with clock cleanup signals, but essentially you're tapping into what I'm working with is primarily right now blue and violet noise.
And for those of you, it's nice to see Robert. Robert Veach is a electrical engineer.
Oh, well, then he probably knows more than I do. He should be sitting here.
He's written so many amazing articles and designed so much equipment. It's before I even started building a lot of things, I was looking at a lot of things that he was building. He would put up schematics and things, and then I learned a lot from him and built some equipment that he designed. So yeah, it's amazing.
Right. Oh, then Robert, I have some questions. I'd love to pick your brain, because as much as I've learned and I'm progressing to ask better questions, I'm sure even talking to you, I could further my research or even ask what questions to ask next in terms of where to go with what I'm doing. It's interesting. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate the comment.
Yeah, Wayne Poe commented something. With SLS, you can do the same thing with Snapchat. You can do a Snapchat filter and get the same results. Just FYI, so people that don't want to go out and spend money on SLS camera, you have a free app on your phone you can download and use. Just use Snapchat.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep. It does the same type of mapping. That's how Snapchat works.
That's quite the hack right there. That saves quite a bit of money for people that want to experiment with that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Because the SLS, the camera wasn't designed to be moved around. And if you understand how the camera works, it's as soon as it because it needs to calibrate. So you stand in there. So if you ever used a Connect or anything like that, if you read the SDK kit, so this that stands for the software developer kit, it needs calibration. So it asks you to raise your right arm, move your left leg,
Right.
move your right leg. It has to calibrate. So when you're carrying it around, it doesn't have time to calibrate. So any object that it sees, if it's a new object, it's going to think it's a person. So it's going to immediately start mapping on that object. And people think it's paranormal when it's not. It's just that's how the software is designed. It's designed to capture something, a figure. If it thinks if it's close enough and it thinks that it's a human, it's going to start mapping that. It can even do a texture in a wall. If it sees a texture and the camera just because it uses a grid, you can't see that grid. It's invisible. It's almost like using a laser grid. So that laser grid is up against the wall, and then it sees a pattern. So it starts mapping out that whatever it sees in that pattern. So that's how it works, and
Okay.
people don't understand that.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize it was as easy as using a Snapchat filter. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Jen has a really great comment. She says, Jen, as a psychic medium, I have to raise my vibrational levels to speak with spirit. I think if you use a Polter pod, batteries, EM pumps, and that would help spirit energy to assist in utilizing energy to communicate or elicit a response. Sound vibration. Exactly. So there's so much in common when we're talking about frequency and sound vibration. And you're a psychic medium. You have that ability. Rob and I talk about it. We just joke around. It's already inside you. The ghost box is already inside you. This is just a joke. I'm not trying to insult, because I firmly believe that you have that capability to tap into that. And we're trying to use equipment to essentially do the same thing. There's so much in common. Katie mentioned earlier that we're kind of all taking different paths, but kind of all eventually heading to the same result or answer, or at least we're all heading in the same direction. Maybe that's a better way to say it. But excellent comment.
No, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That's why, when you're doing spirit communication, you're trying to raise your vibration to help communicate with spirit. And I don't know if that's why I have such success with my box and the communication that I get all the time. It might be, I don't know. But Josh gets it too, so I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, and I think I don't know where you're exactly going with your research. There's a lot of avenues that you want to take, but like Jen said, it's sound vibration. We're working with vibration, we're working with frequency, and essentially that is, we're just using it right now, particularly with ghost boxes and Katie Holte, Steve Holte, Rob. It's so many other builders. We're scanning the EM spectrum, or the radio section of the EM spectrum, if you will. And there's people doing more work outside of that, but essentially we're still talking about frequency. We're still talking about vibration. And sound is a mechanical wave, and it requires pressure. So we can obviously work with sound and pressure waves, and we can discuss the EM spectrum. That's a whole. I think we would derail this whole show if we started going into the EM spectrum. But
there's so many different levels of frequency, and that's what the human body is made out of. That's the brain waves. Put out frequency of 38 hertz. The human body puts out a frequency of 24 hertz. It's kind of crazy on how I know that, but I've done a lot of research, and this is what frequency counters also. You can learn a lot by carrying around a frequency counter on what puts out EMF or puts out EMI. Different devices. You would be so surprised on what puts out EMF. And it's funny because working as a Wi-Fi engineer, a lot of people are so freaked out because people are aware of what radio frequencies or how many devices in homes now put out so much RF radiation, it's crazy. People will not use a cell phone up to their ear. People will not have a Wi-Fi router in their house because of um, the RF radiation that routers put out. It's crazy. Are you guys hearing that?
Everything okay?
Yeah,
I hear a tapping.
there's something.
I thought that was your cell phone like buzzing on the table. It was vibrating. That's what during the shows I hear that and I'm like, oh, that's probably Rob's cell phone on your table.
No, there's no. I mean, my cell phone's off. I mean, my cell phone's on a stand.
Right.
Um, no, there was a
Or it's your chair. It sounds like your gaming chair. I don't know.
no,
Maybe it's a gaming chair.
there was a beeping sound. There was a beeping sound, but then there was also tapping, and I was like, "Where in the hell is that coming from?" There's nothing.
My chair doesn't make any sound. I didn't hear beeping. I just hear your chair and your phone sometimes, which you should be putting on silent.
No. I never have my phone. That's a funny thing. So if anybody ever calls me, and I miss calls, I'll go back to my phone and I have like 5 missed calls. Because I never turn my ringer on. It's always on silent. I don't even have it on vibrate. Right. It's on silent.
I think it's your gaming chair. I don't know. I think it's your gaming chair.
No, it's not that. There was actually a beeping sound, and then there was tapping, and I was like, "The hell is that?"
I mean, it could be every once in a while I bump this microphone. It might be my hand.
No, sorry, it was coming from here. It was coming from my side. Anyway,
yeah,
there's something weird going on here, like always. But you know what? Whatever. It kind of just trips me out because I'm like, where in the hell is that sound coming from? Anyway.
Jessica says we are currently having a bird situation here. Their eyes are crusting up and they're dying, and they're also just flying kamikaze style into the ground or buildings. I'm pretty sure 5G is involved. There
could be.
Wow, this is more your area, Rob, in terms of that frequency.
Yeah, I mean that could be affecting them. 5G is bad. I mean, it's really bad. You should see like the equipment that people have to put on, technicians that have to put on, right. When they go up to a tower. Now with 5G, it's bad. It's really bad. And this is a thing. Like when people are out here, I know we're getting like a little geeky about frequency, but when people go out on an investigation, there's so many cell towers out there. What I suggest doing is always, there's a cell map or cell tower map app on Android and iOS. Always check the map to see how close you are to a cell tower. You would be surprised because a cell tower ping can cause equipment to go crazy. So always be aware of your environment. Just giving you an FYI.
Katie says she's the 5G conspiracy queen.
All right, Katie, so you answer that. Why is birds like just kamikazing into the ground or into buildings?
That's unbelievable. I mean, we're talking about frequency, but at the same time, it's
no, but this is,
you can't ignore that. You can't ignore that. Faraday close. Parasense. Yeah, Faraday close.
No, exactly.
So, but that's maybe Katie will answer about the birds, but at the same time, that's essentially what there's so much to, we rehash old topics, white noise and noise. And I'm being repetitive here, but we're coming full circle in the sense that we can never know enough. And there's so much, Rob, that I'm learning even about your box in terms of thermal noise and how other radios emit thermal noise, which can lead to intermodulation distortion, harmonic distortion. There's certain frequencies that we perceive through psychoacoustics will interact with us differently. And there's so many variables with that. And Jen here is a psychic medium. So she's already working on raising her vibration to frequency. We have frequencies that we're perceiving from our environment that are known and unknown and how they affect us. And there's so many variables. So when we bring up white noise, when we bring up these things, we do have to remind ourselves, what exactly are we looking to understand further about these topics? Because again, all of this is still in our infancy. I mean, I can't even tell you, blue and violet noise, at the inception of A to D conversion, we were using white noise to increase dynamic range when moving from like 24-bit to 16-bit. White noise was being used, but what we found out was, again, like there's no free lunch, the white noise was helping with stochastic resonance, and it was also not helping through inverse stochastic resonance. So there, and that's when we moved to a quieter noise or a blue or violet noise, and that's recent. That's at the turn of the century when CD players were coming out and people were mastering to CD from an analog method in the studio. That's not that long ago, 20, 30 years. I mean, you can't tell me we've mastered or understood completely all of the processes and the measurement possibilities of noise and how it impacts us and how it impacts our environment.
Yeah. No, it's just this whole thing on the frequency topic. I mean, it's huge. But see, it's just, here's the thing, like we always talk about. Everything has become stagnant because of it's instant gratification. Everybody wants instant gratification. They just want instant answers. They want instant results, which it's not going to happen. It'll never happen. They might think like they're getting the results that they're looking for, but in the long term, they're just basically hurting themselves by not doing the research.
Well, and I think so much time is, I don't know, Rob, if I'm speaking too freely here, but complaining about it being stagnant, that these people that are, I don't want to say these people, that was the wrong word, but people that are saying that it's stagnant are the same people asking me, or when they say you need white noise for ITC, and I say, do you know what white noise is? And they can't answer the question, but they're also the same people saying the field is stagnant. And so there's no shortcuts in life. You have to understand and dive deep into the principles, even at some level, understand the mathematics behind it if you want to push forward. Because if you continue to wait for someone to reveal something spectacular in ITC, all that's going to happen is that experiment's going to be regurgitated by other people. Now, yes, a good sample size is good when you're working with a new experiment. But at the same time, if it's stagnant, then start looking into something, start researching something. And it's almost endless what you can research. I mean, there's no bounds right now to anything that's been overexplored. Nothing's been overexplored. Nothing. I mean, we barely know anything about anything we're talking about.
No, exactly. And here's something else. Like if you really want to go old school, and that's something that will not be affected by RF interference, by different frequencies, and it's only going to, the only thing that's going to have effect on it is magnetic pull, is use a compass. Oh. That's gonna point out, help you determine a lot of things, and it will really freak you out when you're looking at a compass and it's just spinning for no reason. Which I've seen it happen on a few occasions. Yeah, when it's just spinning, I mean, and it's spinning fast, and then all of a sudden it stops on a dime. You're like, what the hell was that?
Right.
What? Then you'll know, wow, what the hell was that? And if you get on camera, that's even better. So, there's.
Well, and when we talk about camera and video, and I hope I'm not derailing anything, we're talking about white light, which is essentially the same as white noise. What white noise is to sound, white light is to the visible spectrum, and how cameras use that same principle of a spectrum of frequencies at an equal intensity level to facilitate ITC. So white light is also a discussion when we talk about visual ITC, the loopback method from Klaus Schreiber, different research like that. So again, even when you're talking about video ITC, we're talking about frequency. We're talking about frequency.
No, exactly. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, this is a big topic, but if somebody wants to do research on different things, there's some great books that will talk about frequency and the paranormal. And I mean, there's books that are very basic, and they will explain on um, what levels you really want to look for when you're doing paranormal research. And I talk about the 5 hertz range, um, because the human ear can't pick up anything that low.
Right.
When you start seeing EVP in the 8 and the 5 hertz range, you're like, what the hell is that?
Right.
So you start, using different audio programs like Audacity or,
Right.
yeah, Audition. I
Right.
keep on saying Audacity when I mean Audition. When you use Adobe Audition, and they have a audio spectrum analyzer, and then you start seeing these frequencies and you're like, what the hell is that? So you'll highlight it, you'll play it back, and then it'll kind of boost that frequency to where you're able to hear it, and then you get a class A EVP. It's like, holy crap, I didn't even hear that during that time when it was recorded. Yeah, the reason why you never heard that was because it was in a frequency that the recorder that you can't hear, the human ear
Right.
can't hear. So um
I've Rob, it's funny you mentioned that because I've been in a room when they have measurement equipment for amps, to pick up the equivalent input noise, dynamic range of the preamps, things like this. And they'll test speakers and monitors and subwoofers. And there are some specialized amps that will not roll off below 20 hertz. And they'll continue at a flat frequency rate, you know, almost to zero, probably, and what's interesting is the subwoofer was designed where we can't hear it, but you can feel it. It gets
yeah.
to a point where you can feel the pressure in the room change, and it's not something you hear, but you feel it, and you feel it. The only way I can say it is you can almost feel it in your soul. You feel it in your bones, and you're like, "Oh my gosh!" But you don't hear it, and it's incredibly loud, and obviously it's a slow wave, but at the same time, it's incredible to witness those frequencies below the human hearing.
So an interesting thing. So
Audacity is great, Katie. Yeah.
yeah. So I was a tech for an IMAX theater.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I
Wow.
was there during the construction, and then
Oh,
I mean, but I
yeah.
also became um, a certified repair person to repair an IMAX projector.
Fun.
Uh,
Woo.
oh no, it was cool.
Right.
I mean, when the theater was being built, and I was just like overlooking. I mean, literally, I was standing over somebody's shoulder and just watching. And the tech was like, I said, "Dude, do you mind
Right.
if I stand here?" Because he kept on like looking over his shoulder, like, "Dude, you're like cramp. You're like on literally glued onto my back."
Right.
And I said, "Dude, I'm sorry. Do you mind if I'm standing here?" And he was like, "No." He said,
He's like,
"I'm
yeah.
just surprised, like you're just like this interested in doing this."
Mhm.
Um, and that's what got me. So they were like, "Dude, you were like here during." I mean, at that point in time, literally, I spent 150 hours a work week during that install. I was basically there um, like 21, 22 hours a day. I would just go home, take a shower, get a little break, and then go back to work. And then sometimes I'll just nap there, taking a nap at work. But
Oh,
anyway, so we did the whole install. So I'm getting to what was amazing.
right.
So during the audio um, balancing and to tune all of the speakers, because
Mhm.
you wouldn't even you couldn't imagine how many rows of speakers they are,
Oh, yeah.
how they're tuned. So you have the back speakers, you have speakers going all along the front or the sides. Then you have the subwoofers. The screen behind the screen is nothing but speakers. So once they were doing the tuning and the audio engineer came to tune it, he said, "Dude, you need to leave the theater."
Right.
He said, "If you stay in here, you're going to get we're gonna have to pick you up off of the
Yeah.
floor, and you're gonna be sick.
People get nauseous and throw up there. And it's weird because some people can actually take that type of tuning for
Right.
longer. But I've heard a horror story from someone who works in Hollywood or the entertainment industry, and they were throwing up. I mean, they didn't even get out of the room and they were throwing up. And they were like,
Yeah.
no, it's almost like a challenge. It's like a pride, a badge of honor. Like, can you stay during the tuning? Like, yeah, no problem. Like 3 seconds into it, you're like, like
Yeah.
it's so much
So
pressure. It's so much unexpected pressure.
yeah, so I said, no, I want to stay in here and experience this. And then they were like, all right, if you want to do it. So they just got me like these special earmuffs to put on. I can still
Oh,
hear it, but it wasn't anywhere near, but you can feel the pressure in your body. That's what I was trying to get at.
Right. Yeah. Some people are very sensitive to that pressure. They get nauseous and they almost lose their equilibrium. They almost, it's almost like they feel very lightheaded. Their walk, well, I haven't been in those situations too often, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
So I ended up just saying, you know what? I've had enough. I had to leave.
Yeah. The earmuffs won't do anything. Yeah.
No, just because of the vibrations,
Right.
that and what it was doing with my body. I was like, yeah, I got to get out of here.
Especially when there's,
I lasted for about 15 minutes, and everybody's like, dude, that was pretty good.
especially at resonation, like at resonant frequencies. That's when you almost feel like you're about to be picked up and you're gonna start floating in air. I mean, that's how much you're vibrating. It's I don't know if I'm describing it properly, but the few measurement situations I've been in, it's been like that.
That was exactly it. When they were doing the low frequencies, it literally almost pushed me up against the wall. It was that strong.
Right.
Yeah, it was crazy.
You know what? The one time I did experience it at an intense level, it felt like I was weightless for a second. Like I almost couldn't feel my mass. I couldn't feel my body or my mass. It was very odd experience.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was a cool experience. I mean to do that and then working with people at Skywalker Ranch, that was really cool. Skywalker Ranch is the studio that is was used for Star Wars.
Right. Yeah, and again, all along your career, everything you've worked on, and our audience all has. I mean, they're chiming in with some great comments, and they're all sharing with us how they're researching frequencies and how it impacts them and their abilities in psychic mediumship, building ghost boxes for Katie and Steve. And now we're sharing our experience with how we use frequency on a day-to-day basis, whether it's our job or just our research. And we really come back to, we're asking, similar questions. We're all, no matter how we're researching it, no matter how we're using it in our lives to conduct the research, we're all in some way asking the same question. Jen saying, I have to raise my vibrational frequency. We're trying to do the same thing in our research. We're trying to raise a vibrational frequency, and now we're discussing free electrons or electrons and how basically that could almost be the ionosphere or the mesosphere could be in like a conversion process or help in the process of communication, similar to how analog has moved to digital. Is the mesosphere or the ionosphere contributing to a conversion process, or maybe stochastic resonance is shifting this information or voices down a few octaves so we can hear it between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz. Are they doing the conversion process for us? Do we have to contribute more to the conversion process? Is there even a conversion process? So these are the questions we're asking. We're trying to figure out. Oh,
so
great.
With that comment that Wayne just said, so supposedly dogs can hear down to I want to say like 6 hertz, somewhere around there. It's really low. And that's why they'll bark at things that you don't hear.
Well, and at the higher end, I mean, I don't remember. Is it like 40 kilohertz? I mean, they can or 20. I know, is a dog whistle at like 24 kilohertz? I feel like dog whistles are between 20 and 24 kilohertz, but dogs can hear up to like, some animals can hear up to like 40 kilohertz. Or maybe it's higher. I don't remember.
It's really high, but then the low frequencies is really low too. And that's why they react to, some dogs are more sensitive to fireworks going off because of that low frequency that they're putting out. It just hurts their ears.
Right.
It's just like a kid, if you ever take a kid somewhere like to an airport or something like that where there's a lot of jet sounds, just because their hearing is so sensitive, to whereas we grow older, our ears are less sensitive. But with like a kid, they can't take a jet engine sound because the frequency is so high pitched that it hurts their ears.
Oh, that happens a lot in the studio or the music production industries. As engineers get older, they bring us youngins in. Well, I'm not young anymore, so I'm using someone else's ears, but I'm cranking up the treble in the high frequencies, like the Air plugins by I think
Right.
Focusrite has an interface that has the Air option, so it can increase the higher frequencies above 4 kilohertz, to 20 kilohertz. It increases the clarity. But
Right.
I'm cranking it up +3, +4, +5 decibels. Like, okay, side chain this, put it in the bus, and someone younger is like, dude, I'm about to, like, you're gonna crack glass if you keep the high frequencies that high. Like, you need to bring it down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've really lost sensitivity to higher frequencies as I've gotten older. So it
Yeah.
happens to all of us. And again, that is a property or how we understand psychoacoustics and how frequencies affect us. So as we're doing this research, we're changing. Our bodies are changing. How our mind perceives frequency is changing. So those again are variables you have to keep in mind when doing this research. It's just such a huge, massive topic with so many variables. So that's why everyone's coming together from different areas or walks of life that are, again, studying, working with frequency to do this communication, whether you're a psychic medium or we're using actual equipment to study frequency. We're all sharing our knowledge and trying to figure out, where to go from here, what questions to ask next.
Yeah. So everybody, I mean, I've been getting this a lot. So
Okay.
basically, so the mass that's blowing around, I have a fan, just to my right. Um, so yeah, see, I just turned it off. So yeah, I have this fan on.
Oh, okay.
Because
So it is a fan.
it's super hot in here. It's literally, it's like 98 degrees in here. I don't have I need to get an air conditioner for in here.
That's great for your mic pre's. your mic preamp. No, I'm just teasing. They're meant to work in extreme temperatures. Robert just Googled dogs here up to 45 kilohertz or 45,000 hertz. I knew it was like 40,000 or somewhere around there, but thank you for confirming that, Robert. Yeah, exactly. So imagine, think about how many additional octaves that is above 20 kilohertz that dogs and animals can hear. They're experiencing a part of reality in this world that we just don't observe on a conscious level. Again, subconsciously, I can't speak to that. That's not my area of expertise. But again, psychoacoustics, affect an animal. How do frequencies affect animals? So they react to our environment differently. Cats as well. Cats visually, I think there's something in the visual spectrum in terms of they can see more of the spectrum of the white light than humans can. I believe. Don't quote me on that.
So Jen, yeah. So, and that's where people, I know that this doesn't show your whole comment, but yeah, when you lower your vibrations, yes, you will start getting, I guess, a little bit darker energy or communicating with, I hate to use this word, but more malevolent spirit, which happens. It happens to me quite a bit. I pick up both, I think, because I just lower my vibrations also, as well as I kind of just balance it out. But I'm okay with doing what I do. I'm comfortable with it. Which I know there's a lot of other people that just, it freaks them out, but that's where I'm comfortable with. So I don't recommend other people doing it, but that's what I have done.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I've liked, Jen, thank you for your comments, because it's really interesting, because I'd like to know more about how, when you say you raise your vibrational frequency, I'd like to, I wish I could understand that more. And I know obviously that comes second nature to you, obviously, but at the same time, I'm so curious about that, because I don't know if I've experienced that. I don't know how to tell in that regard, but I do understand frequency from my career and my perspective. So, but thank you for sharing your perspective with frequency from a psychic medium standpoint. Ben's got a good question. So are dogs hearing the EVP frequencies? That head tilt always has me questioning. That's a good question, Ben.
They do. I have, and here's the reason why. In the past, when my dogs always go crazy, and it's funny because, as a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people on the shows do know that my house has a lot of activity. There's four spirit here. There has been times when my dogs will hear voices that I have picked up on camera, on because I have a couple of cameras. So, and then they'll start barking, and also the doors have opened up after they started barking, and I have a baby gate to keep the dogs out of the kitchen, and that baby gate has opened up and closed by itself. And the baby gates are not easy to open and close.
It's not spring loaded or
Not spring loaded. You
okay.
have to. The way that this works is you have to lift and pull the latch at the same time for it to unlatch.
Oh, okay. But sometimes if you don't close them well, I have two sons, but so I know sometimes if you don't close them well, they'll swing open.
No, this one's spring loaded.
Okay.
So if you open it up, it will slam. It'll slam shut.
Right.
And you have to unlatch it again. But yeah, so that's happened on occasions.
Has it ever been locked and you've tried to open it and you walk into it? Like I thought it was unlocked and I'll take my laundry and I'll actually walk into it and it doesn't. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've gone head first over those things when they don't open. I'm sorry. Just I'll file a customer complaint with the company.
No, it's just the way that works. I mean, I know how the baby gate works.
Right.
And even adults have a hard time. They're like,
oh yeah, I have. Yeah, I'm studying frequency, but I can't figure out a baby gate. Oh yeah, I've injured myself plenty of times.
Yeah. So, but no, I mean, so the dogs have reacted, and then I play something back, and they heard the voice before, and that's what got them going.
Right.
And then the other things came after. So yeah, they started going crazy before anything even opened. So.
Right. And we can also work in that frequency. And depending, obviously we're studying this on the digital platform. So we need to take the analog world or the analog frequency and move it to digital. So if you have a good analog to digital converter, you can set a sample rate and record at those frequencies. And then if you have the equipment, play it back and you can pitch it down or slow it down or convert it to where you can hear any communication coming in those frequencies. And we've recovered EVP from that frequency by doing that process. But it's also a little more time consuming, and you have to have really good equipment to really properly understand what's going on at those frequencies. But it can be done, and there is EVP within those frequencies and even higher. Mason says, Rob, I need a new audio recorder. Which one should I buy?
I'm saying the VP 4100.
Oh, for EVP?
Yeah, is it the VP? What's the model?
Or is it 4100 PC? Well, there's the PC which attaches via USB cable. If you get the VN 4100 Olympus,
yeah, it's VN 4100.
If you get the Olympus VN 4100, you're going to have to export your audio via an unbalanced audio cable to a computer or to a device so you can analyze it.
Or just get the PC.
Get the PC. I was going to say, then you can transfer your files via USB cable. So if you're going for the Olympus VN 4100 or any of those Olympus recorders, if you can, get the USB version. That way you can easily transfer your files to your computer. Or you'll be, talking about plugging it into your computer or getting an audio interface to convert the audio into digital format so you can review it. So try and get the USB format if you can. Simple process, sends it right over.
Then you can find them on eBay.
Mr. Poe says Tascam DR05. Exactly. Great recorder. You get a lot for your money with that recorder.
Yeah. I mean, if I was still going to buy a recorder, I always go with the VN 4100.
Right. Now
it's a great recorder, but the only bad thing is it only records in MP3. But you get amazing results with it no matter what.
And that's what's interesting is as a sound engineer, and you as well, Rob, we could sit here and be nitpicky about high resolution and clarity and maximum dynamic range of the microphones that are recording the environment. But we know that we get EVP no matter what recorder we use, whether it's the Panasonic RRDR60, which has a 6.6 kilohertz sampling rate, all the way up to recorders that record at 192 kilohertz and above. And some record in DSD at 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz or that range. So no matter what we use, we're getting EVP. So in that way, even though it is MP3 and compressed, the VN 4100, again, because of its properties, picks up a tremendous EVP. I've always had success with the Olympus VN 4100, definitely.
Right. Hold on one second. She was asking a question.
Mhm.
No, I'm not gonna. God, I haven't been to. Well, I was at Olivas Adobe not that long ago. I just drove by. It was closed because of COVID, but that's my old stomping grounds. I've investigated there so many times.
Right.
Um, I've gotten so many pictures of apparitions there. Um, it's a great place. I mean, it's a fun tour. Um, yeah, just message me later and I'll tell you where to go.
You know, Rob, I've done most of my ITC research in a studio or environment like that, and I haven't done hardly any paranormal investigating. But I was going to talk to you about this, whether it's this time or next time. I had the one time I went down to the Whaley House in San Diego.
Yeah.
I had an interesting experience there. It wasn't nothing was scary or haunted per se, but just in terms of how I felt on the property, more or less, and how, you know, I don't know if it was a change in pressure. I don't know how to describe it, but that place definitely, and I want to talk to you about that. Maybe our audience has been there, but that was a place that, again, I didn't feel was, scary or haunted per se, but it just had amazing energy there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So a couple of friends of mine, they actually the San Diego Ghost Hunters,
Mhm.
they actually facilitate that location.
Oh,
Uh,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and it's funny because I went there on a tour
Mhm.
and I walked in and then they were like, "Oh, look, we have a special guest today," and I started laughing. I was like, "Oh my god!" So, anyway, so they just introduced me. Anyway, so they were talking about Anna Whaley, um, an EVP that they got um, during one of their tours. It was basically Anna Whaley screaming at them, saying to get out of their house, get out of the house. Um, so they were at the bottom of the stairs. They just were opening up to give a tour to a TV station, and it was like around Halloween time. And anyway, so they just unlocked the doors. They walked in, and they heard that a disembodied voice of them saying it. So they played the recording, and yeah, it was like, oh my god, that's kind of weird. That's amazing. That was a great, piece of evidence. So during the tour, we're upstairs, and we were standing above the staircase, and I had a VN 4100 running because I would always hit record and then just walk around with it. I would just always have it recording, even if we're just in there talking, whatever. So we're sitting there talking, and I put the recorder. I I have the recorder like on my hand, on the palm of my hand, and I set my hand on the railing, and we're sitting there talking, and we thought we heard something. There was two of us or three of us standing there, and I was kind of like against the rail, and I said, "Did you guys hear that?" And they said, "Yeah, but it might have been somebody on the tour." So we're like, okay. So I kind of just kind of like looked at the timestamp, and I said, "Okay, I'll play it back later." So we left, and we get outside, and we play it back. I got that same exact recording of Anna Whaley yelling at us to get off the stairs and get out of her house.
Wow.
That was like, and I was like, holy crap. But the very first time that I went
Wow.
into the house, I had to leave the tour. I had to leave. I got so sick,
Oh, yeah.
kind of like with what Wayne experienced here at my house.
Right. That's what I was trying to. Yeah.
I got so sick. I was like hunched over. I felt like
Right.
I was gonna throw up. So I ran out of the house. As soon as I got out of the house, I was fine.
And that's what I mean is that I didn't see any apparitions. I didn't particularly record when I was there. I was actually there for a wedding, so I didn't have a lot of time. But at the same time, that's what I did experience there was uneasiness, again, feeling lightheaded. I did feel nauseous. And so that's more or less what I experienced. Again, I didn't see an apparition. I didn't see any type of activity that other people have experienced there. But that's what I was trying to communicate, is that's very interesting. And then if we look at that again through frequency, what is it that's causing us to feel that? Something is causing us to feel that way. It's not fairy dust. Is it frequency? And why and who is emitting that frequency so we feel ill? And I'm sure there's people in our chat that know way more about this than I do in terms of psychic mediumship and how that energy affects the human body. That's not, again, my area. So it's hard for me to speak on that. But it's very interesting that we experience the same thing, and other people experience that at that location as well.
Yeah.
And Jen is saying there's a portal under the archway, and bad uneasiness as you ascend the staircase. Yeah.
Huh. I mean, yeah, I've been to the Whaley House, 3 times maybe. Yeah. So.
Right. And Kanga has a really good comment. Kanga says, I'm beginning to see sound energy is a lot more powerful than I have given it credit for. These frequencies seem to have a hand in so many different areas. And sound in particular is a mechanical wave, and it moves longitudinally. And we need air or molecules for sound to carry. And so it is a mechanical wave where EM can move through the vacuum of space. Actually, but you know what's interesting, Rob? I've been reading up on more theoretical research, again, theoretical, that sound may be able to move through a vacuum. And this is a mechanical wave, and we know there's no air or air molecules in a vacuum. But they found a way to transmit sound through the process of an electrical current cooling off through heat, through thermal noise. So they're thinking that it may be possible to send sound through a vacuum, again, through temperature, through thermal noise, through heat, as something's cooling off, using that heat to move that signal. And that, again, it's in theory, but they're having good success with that. So that's interesting as well, too, is we're just now learning, all these years, well, sound can't move through a vacuum. Sound can't move through a vacuum. And it's true. Outer space, there's no sound, right? I think there's been some movies recently that have projected properly when things collide in space, you don't hear anything. But now they're doing theoretical research, and it's showing some signs of success that they can actually move this mechanical wave through the process of an electrical current cooling down through heat.
Yeah.
We're just now kind of not stumbling, but moving to research that further.
Right. But now here's another point on that same, on that same concept. So, a lot of people use, I guess, IR motion detectors for, different devices, things like that, for paranormal research. But the thing is, like for like a motion detector to, I guess, what am I trying to say? For it to calibrate, basically it locks onto like a surface. Okay. So basically, it sends a signal out to that surface, bounces back, and it's all done via thermal. So for motion, even though it detects motion, that motion has to be warmer than that device, or for the motion detector to go off. So even though it's sent off of a motion, it's set off on a frequency, on the frequency being the temperature that it's being read. So for that to go off, it has to be a warmer frequency for that. If it's colder, it's not going to go off. It has to be at a warmer temperature for it to detect that signal, and then it'll set it off. So a lot of people don't realize, like, even though its temperature is still a frequency, everything is frequency.
Right. And that's what's interesting. Even piggybacking off what you're saying, we have a comment. Mr. Poe says it makes sense. Somehow we have recorded the background noise of the galaxy and the universe. And that's true. There, in fact, I believe there are recordings it might be of the electromagnetic radiation from planets giving off certain sound. I feel like I've heard this somewhere on the internet before. Someone's played this for me.
There's different planet frequencies.
Right.
And there's actual music that they record these frequencies, and when you're playing with different frequencies, you can actually use those frequencies to make music. So they have different music that were generated from different planets. I can actually, if you listen to com radio, or if you ever get a com radio account, a lot of those on com radio, there's station, I think it's space sounds or something like that, and there's different music set to different planets. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I would love to hear more of that. I know I've been exposed to it and someone's played it for me. It's been a while since I've actually listened to it or even given it more attention than, oh, that's really cool, I'll check it out later. I really put some time into that. Jessica says she follows a guy on TikTok who records plant frequencies. It's beautiful. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about that. That's incredible.
Yeah. And this is where I'm getting at. This is why I'm saying that there's so much more that we can pick up on using these frequencies, because it's like these different frequencies. If you ever, and I've caught a lot of different things, and we've heard different voices, and I've had witnesses with me that we heard it and we played it back using a recorder, to where even trees just like blowing in the wind, we actually heard that actually helped generate a disembodied voices. And we're thinking, well, we're just hearing stuff from the wind. No, we got it on recorder and we play it back, and it's a full sentence of a woman talking or of a man talking. We've gotten several in different locations. The one location, though, it was used for satanic rituals. So that was pretty, and we all got this weird feeling from that. And I did get a EVP because we all thought, well, it's just a wind blowing, but no, we heard a voice. No, but it was just probably the wind. It was probably a voice carrying across the canyon. So when we got over to the location that we were going, there was nobody there. So I said, all right, let's play it back. So we played it back, and there was a group of us, of about 10 of us. And we all played it back, and we're like, oh my God, listen what it says. Right. And the voice said that, be careful on where you're standing. And then it said, look. And when we went back, we were like, let's see what it was talking about. We went back, and there was candles up in the trees. There were red candles everywhere. And then there was blood all over the place, like where they did a sacrifice, and there was feathers everywhere. And we're like, holy crap, we just stumbled upon a ritual site. So yeah, it was, that voice was basically warning us to where we were, what we were near. But and that voice was generated from, the leaves on the tree blowing in the wind. So yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Environmental noise.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because we talk about how that helped, in theory, populate a disembodied voice, because it provided those frequencies, again, in theory, for stochastic resonance to amplify the weaker ITC signal so something could come across. And we see that in the ghost box radio because there's environmental noise and thermal noise that also impact the radio as well. And so it's funny how this will all tie in. If you sit down and think about how so much of everything of what we're doing is really, we're all studying the core unit here. We're all studying vibration. And I think Ben said it earlier, is that it's all vibration, man. Yeah. And it's a funny way to say it, but you're right. It's about vibration. Jen says concentrated vibrational frequencies are believed in some circles that assisted in elevating the large pyramid stones and ancient structures. And that's interesting because in the study of sound pressure level, SPL, we might have seen that acronym. It's very common when measuring the pressure level or how sound moves air molecules in a room and how it's perceived by us. But the sound pressure level, it's pressure. It's literally pressure. It's affecting our environment in a measurable way. And that's right. Frequency and vibration could very well have lifted those large pyramid stones. I'm not smart enough to figure out exactly how to do that, but I do understand what you mean by that. Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, in talking about this now, this is something that we experienced on Saturday. So on Saturday, I was playing. For those of you that missed it earlier tonight, I played a couple of different frequencies that I was playing during my Saturday show. During the whole show, um, there was a candle that's sitting on this side where this little table is that I have a bunch of things on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a candle. There's a black candle that's sitting there. Um, the pressure was so heavy in here. The candle flame never reached. It was almost barely on. And I couldn't figure it out. There was another candle burning, and that candle was fine. So during that time, and everybody was saying, so somebody was commenting, saying it's the pressure in their room.
Right.
And I said, but that doesn't make any sense, because there's another candle 4 feet away, and it's normal.
Right.
And they said, yeah, but it might be the pressure of where that sound is coming from.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what, I never even thought about that. So the next day I came in because I left my lights on, because I have some ambient lights, and I just left. I was tired. So the next day I came in, I turned off those lights, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try something. I figured it might just be, maybe it's the candle itself. So I lit the candle, the flame was normal. And I was like, this is weird. That was weird. So I'm going to try it again. I have the same candle. I'm going to burn it again Saturday and see if I get the same. I'm going to play the same music and see what the flame, if it's affected from those frequencies. If it causes the pressure to have that same effect on that candle.
And there we go again. We're using something that's been around for I don't know how long, a candle and fire, which requires oxygen as fuel, and you're using sound to affect the pressure in the room, which affects the air molecules. And again, this comes full circle. This is a very simple experiment that can be tried and proven to show that frequency absolutely impacts our environment. And I see what. I just saw that pop up on my screen. Ben says there are layers in some of these responses coming from different depths of the audio. There is communication in knocks as well when they are reviewed. Ben, exactly. And that's what's so interesting about the audio that's coming from a ghost box, because again, depending on the radio, depending on the receiver, the way you're receiving the communication, there are multiple layers of communication at different decibel levels. And that was found earliest in my experience. And I talk about this box all the time, is the Mini Box Plus AM, the tuned radio frequency, because that box, especially at night, when the ionosphere affects AM communication, and AM signals can travel farther around the world, or travel farther in general, when the ionosphere and the electrons release, and kind of creates that wall where the signal is just bouncing from the earth and hitting the ionosphere and coming back down, that radio would pick up 6, 7, 8, 9 transparent layers of communication, all at different decibel levels, almost at like -3 and -6, -12, -18, -20 decibels. And those through the process of imaging or audio imaging can be separated and studied without actually reducing frequency. And that's what I still to this day find so amazing about that box and AM and the tuned radio frequency. And in Rob's box, I've had similar situations as well with the FM.
Yeah. So
good night, Jen. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jen.
Thanks for tuning in, Jen. I know that this topic kind of went a little long, but I'm glad that we have. No, I'm totally. I mean, this. I love this. I mean, this is what I just love about our show. I mean, we get on topic and we'll just go. And people that want to listen to it, that's fine. If people want to tune out, that's fine. I understand that it's a little technical and it might be boring to some, but you know what, other people love it. So we try to cater to everybody.
Right.
Every topic's going to be a little bit different. Some
Right.
topics are going to be very boring. Other topics are, going to be, grab everybody's attention. But
Right.
for those of you that haven't seen the video that I posted today, this is what we were basically talking about. And this is kind of why we started this discussion. So I posted a video yesterday that had a lot of white noise. Well, no, it didn't have any white noise. No, there's no white noise in my boxes. So, and this is what kind of people were saying, well, you need white noise for for spirits to communicate. And so I said, no, you don't. And if you watch the video, it kind of proves to you that it's not needed. And there hasn't been any other devices out there that we really had to test with. So we didn't really have anything to go on. But people were talking about it, but there has never been a device out there that has been developed for us to create that, to confirm this, until I built my box. And then Josh came upon a mode where there's no static, there's only responses coming through. So we stumbled upon that, and then we just kind of developed it. We just kept it going for a while until it is to the point where it is right now. If I would have never been to where we are right now if Josh didn't push my ass and
thanks, buddy.
and keep me focused. He said, Rob, you got to put your head down and just keep going. I don't care what you're thinking, what you're doing, whatever. You just got to keep on doing it.
Yeah, Rob's like, I'm not building boxes anymore. I'm done. I'm like, dude, we are just getting started. We are just getting started. Like, you need to sit down, get your energy drink, whatever. Shut up. Pull out the soldering iron. I've got some idea. Like, let's do this. Let's do this.
So,
I'm freaking out.
Anyway, so for those of you that haven't seen it, I'm trying to share the link. Let me do it one at a time.
It was a discussion, and listen, some people have a preference to use white noise with their communication, and that's awesome. I mean, there's no right or wrong here.
There's no right or wrong.
And who am I to say, or Rob is to say, we're not experts to say, well, you don't solely need white noise, so you don't use it at all. No, we're not done researching any of these things, but there are some misconceptions that you have to have it, and it's the only thing that will facilitate ITC. And I know that's an extreme position, but that idea is still out there. So that's really what we wanted to answer. And most of you probably already knew the answer to this, and that's okay. But we just wanted to kind of reiterate it and talk about it and kind of find the pros and cons again of the white noise and different colored noise, frequency. And I guess we covered baby gates. We talked about a lot in this show.
No, we did. But anyway, so I saw that you had you had a question, Ben, about what sweep rate we used during that sweep. So here's the thing. Like, I don't know so we were talking about it very early on in tonight's show. When you put it in a certain mode on my box, you're basically maxing out the duty cycle to 400 megahertz. And the sweep rate, you're basically it's actually reversing. Or what do we come up with, Josh? It's sweeping at a rate that it's unmeasurable.
Right. Essentially, and again, circuitry is not my expertise, or the timer chip is something that I've worked with more recently. The internal circuitry or boards I work with are more an A to D conversion, D to A conversion, and other master clocks and things like this. But from my understanding, what's happening is the 555 engages a phase lock loop with the pulse generation and the frequency. And once you turn, or essentially you put it in this mode and overclock the pulse width, it goes into what's called a pulse stretching, or a free run PLL, or free run pulse lock loop. So essentially it, decoupling is for power, but essentially it detaches the phase from this relationship and inverts it. So the frequency runs freely or separately from the pulse width. And essentially it appears to be, through measurement equipment, picking up the strongest frequencies. And Rob, you can speak more to the fact that you don't believe they're coming from the radio, but from what I've seen, or what I theorize again, is that it's picking up the strongest frequencies, independent of the pulse width. But through pulse stretching in this mode, it's still able to capture 3, 4, 5 words at a time. And again, I need to confirm this. I'm still looking more into the 555 timer. And again, its exact application with the radio. A lot of people use the 555 timer with neon signs, or really silly stuff that you wouldn't think. I mean, they have a mode on there so you can have a neon sign flashing at a certain time limit. And so it's used for so many different things. It's really a new area of study for me, but I believe that's what's going on, is pulse stretching and a free run phase lock loop.
So yeah, if you ever hear, it's really hard to tell, but you can't hear it scanning the frequencies. You can't. But the responses are coming through in so many different, there's so many different variables that, you might get a response, you might get back-to-back responses. The next response might not come back for like 2 minutes. The next response might come back a minute later. Then you might get 3 responses in a row, and then not another response for another 8 minutes. You'll have nothing but silence, and then you're going to get a few more responses coming through. So it's just really hard to say at what sweep rate it's sweeping at, because there's no way to tell. We don't know. There's no way to measure it.
Good night, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us in your comments and always supporting us. Thank you so much, Katie. Really appreciate it. But, and yeah, and I think that, again, that's happening, Rob, because it's unlocked, or, the frequency is traveling at its natural speed, irregardless of the pulse width and how fast that frequency is moving. And I think that's why it becomes random. And Katie brought up a good question. Is it genuine random, or is it, a pseudo random? And
we don't know.
I don't know. I don't know how that's happening. It appears random, but again, I can't confirm that it's genuine random. But it because of that, when it does align with the pulse stretching, or the pulse generation is ones and zeros. So when it's on, or 1, true, yes, 0 is no or false, that the length of the pulse will carry that communication. So when it is random, but when it lines up, you can get 3, 4, 5, 6 words at a time. But again, it's something we're still looking into. Yeah, Katie, exactly. We have to live 1 billion years or more. Yeah,
exactly. No, but the whole thing with that, is it's just so random, that it's just we just don't know. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Right. Yeah, and again, those are, hopefully we'll research this, and we may come full circle back to square one. I don't know. We'll just keep pushing it. And I know Steve Holte, Katie's husband's working with the BAT detector and working with those frequencies, and he's scanning frequencies of the BAT detector, I think above 200 kilohertz. I think it's above 200 kilohertz, or above 100 kilohertz, 100,000 hertz, I believe. So he's using his sweep to sweep that. And I mean, there's so many other areas we can take this and learn from things. So it's definitely interesting. Fun little projects. And if anything, if we don't learn anything from it, we can still check a box off and say, we've researched this under these conditions. It's not showing anything. But that also helps answer questions and helps push you forward, because something, whether it's working or not working, that is still an answer. That is still pushing you forward to ask better questions.
Yeah, and so with that said, this is what I was going to say something, but so with that said, Ben, is what we were thinking is, it's almost like the frequencies from the FM radio are basically thrown out, and the frequencies that are coming in are being piggybacked off of the FM tuner to being brought into the box, and that's what is being played back, are those piggyback frequencies. That's the theory that we have.
Theory.
because of a lot of things that we are hearing that aren't coming from a radio tuner.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah.
No, it's a reverse speech. This is all forward speech.
Right. Yeah. And there's, what's interesting here, and here's what else is interesting, Rob, and we're really going down the rabbit hole, but let me just bring this up before I forget. What I find interesting is all radios, no matter how quiet your radio is, there's still a level of intermodulation distortion and harmonic distortion that maybe not be perceptible by the human ear because it's radio. I mean, it's radio. We're bringing in the environment into this device we're holding. And what's interesting, that will actually affect the pulse generation in terms of it's inaudible, but it is detectable, measurable, that as the gate or the logic gate is opening for the pulse to go to 1, and as it goes back down to 0, there could be a stall in that gate. In other words, in that stall, or if there's some other intermodulation distortions affecting it, could create a little bit of noise there that helps the communication. Like we talked about, violet and blue noise actually assisting that communication. So it's interesting how outside environmental factors that are undetectable to us may be helping that communication in the pulse generation by adding a little bit of noise as the logic gate opens up to 1 or closes to 0 in terms of the pulse generation square wave. So it's interesting. We're looking in places we wouldn't think to look before for something that may help communication, may add to it, or may not have any impact on it. But we're really digging deep and looking in every area possible of this timer chip.
Yeah, and so this is like something that has never been seen or heard before. So this is why this is like opening up a whole new can of worms in ITC, because what's happening is, this is kind of showing people, look, here's some results that are happening without any white noise. Where are these voices coming from? They're not being generated by white noise. So where are they coming from?
Right. And again, a lot of what we have to discuss is theory, but it's something for discussion and really to think about, especially that, a lot of these ghost box radios we use, we turn it on, we get communication, we turn it off. But how many times are we asking the question, why aren't we getting the communication? Is there something inside the box? There's an environmental factor that's contributing to this. And even understanding the radios we already have a lot deeper. And that's why I don't think this field or this study is stagnant, because there are very subtle changes or very small areas within these radios or equipment where with specific measuring equipment, if we can get a sample size or figure out what's going on in one specific instance, we know where to test elsewhere. And it may lead us to something completely different, but it's worth exploring down to the very last, the very last second.
Now, this is why we're going to tap into, recording some of these audio. And Josh and I have talked about this because he was picking up something at the 20 kilohertz range. Right?
Well, yes, I was picking up it was also, see, this is what's difficult, is my ADD converter that I was using at the time was creating harmonic distortion at 33 kilohertz, 66 kilohertz, and 99 kilohertz. So it was doing it in terms of a pattern or octaves, but within that harmonic distortion at those high frequencies, which is 33,000 hertz, 66,000 hertz, 99,000 hertz, there appeared to be communication in that harmonic distortion. And I'm working on trying to manipulate that or convert it so it's audible. But it appeared that within those waves, looking at it visually through even Sonic Visualizer, which is a free program, you can actually see, or you can set the program to detect certain frequencies within frequencies. It can look for patterns that come about. And again, it's all statistical modeling in this sense, but it appears to be there could be communication there. So how prevalent is it? I don't know. Is it truly communication, or am I just seeing the noise from the harmonic distortion? I don't know. But that's where we're looking, because there's just so many areas to learn. And again, if we don't find anything, then we can kind of say, well, it's not happening here, or it's not an area of concern, or it's not anything that's going to improve the field. But knowing this, whether it's helping us or not helping us, actually does help us in the long run, because we can check a box and say, well, we're still researching it, haven't found anything yet, let's proceed forward.
Yeah, and it was funny because he was like, "Rob, did you know that your box is doing this?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about? What now? What did you find?" Um,
Well, and what's interesting is because the output of your box is is analog, so reconverting it back to digital, and I know my A to D converter. I know its pros and cons and weaknesses and where it excels and where it doesn't. And I don't know that it has that harmonic frequency that's picked up. And I was recording at 192 kilohertz. So I was able to pick up frequencies up to 96 kilohertz before it rolled off. But as those frequencies were rolling off, I was still finding the harmonic distortion at 99 kilohertz. So it was perfectly in octaves, which is I found interesting. And within those, again, that frequency, there seemed to be other disturbances. Again, whether it's noise or communication, we're still trying to find out.
but see, what if you take up the sampling rate to
Mhm.
maybe 320, if you can, if you're 80 ADD,
384, yeah. Well,
do you think?
I'm working where well, this is a long discussion, but where I work, Rob will laugh because he understands what I mean by where I work. But at any rate, we record with DSD, direct stream digital, and that records basically an analog waveform in the cleanest and purest way. It stores it digitally, but it still retains all of the analog waveform, and it uses very high frequency to convert this. And what's interesting is when you work with equipment that records at that level at 2.4 megahertz. It's 5.6 or I usually do 2.4. What happens is you can visually and well, not audibly, but visually see all the frequencies below that, and so you get a huge idea and spectrum. You can look in the 300 kilohertz range, 400 kilohertz range, 500. I mean, so you're really seeing everything, and that really hasn't been explored to my knowledge. I don't know that it's been. There might be some people doing it. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I haven't seen a lot of research on it, especially with ITC.
What's funny is now that you're talking about that, I was looking at actually a mixing board that's for streaming capturing, and it had those capabilities.
It had DSD.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap. But it's made by Roland actually. um
Yeah, that
Roland has some amazing video gear. I didn't even know that they made it. I saw a video today of somebody's studio, and I
right.
was like, holy crap, I want that mixer.
Yeah,
Started pricing it out, and I was like, what can I sell to pick one up?
right. Yeah, exactly. And that's one of Sony's proprietary formats. They tried to bring more to the audio music production world. And believe it or not, a lot of musicians will store their analog tapes, because analog tape doesn't last forever. And besides copying it to other analog tapes, they'll put it in a DSD format. So it's
Right.
preserved digitally, but in the most pure analog form possible. And what's interesting is when you review material from a DSD recording visually, it's almost like between 20 hertz and 20 kilohertz, we had this small window of our world. And then you
Yeah.
open up the DSD and you're just like, wow, look at all these audible frequencies. Well, that we can't hear, but we can visually work with. And then obviously, because if you've got a good converter, good conversion, you can get that information converted down so we can hear it or at least study it. So there's a
Yeah.
lot left to do. Well, that's an understatement.
Yeah, and see what got me into like doing different conversions and things like that was when I was in the theater field, and everything was just starting to go from um, from film to digital. So I was part of that whole conversion
Yes.
when Sony and other there was a few other companies, Christie. There was a couple of
Mhm.
projection um, or I guess, projection or projector companies or movie companies that were trying to do the conversion, and yeah, it's crazy.
Right.
Um, so that was pretty interesting. So yeah, the way that the film industry works, I mean, they would ship out canisters of film, and then you would have to put the films together. Now everything is just remotely
Right.
uploaded to hard drives that have encryption decoders built in.
Right.
Uh, Everything's transmitted over the internet to the projector, and then
So
it's
expensive.
yeah, and then it's wiped out, and then deleted, and then retransmitted. So it's crazy. So yeah, I was part of that whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
But that's how I got into a lot of formatting or different conversions, different audio for uh, audio compression, things like that. That's how I got into where I'm at now.
Well, and let's not forget about upscaling.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a whole nother topic, but
Well,
I mean now we're getting into
right. I know. Yeah.
a whole nother ball game. But
Well, there's deep learning AI upscaling that's coming, because once you record a source, at an MP3 or a certain kilobytes per second or a certain sampling rate or sampling frequency, bit depth, quantization rate, essentially it's stuck there. And upscaling was just making it so it could be played at a higher resolution, but it didn't actually make it sound better. It didn't add quality to it. But now they have a deep learning AI program that can actually upscale, or it's in research. It's going to be coming out in future years as AI becomes more prevalent, for better or worse. And it will actually take an MP3 recording that we use on, one of these cheap recorders, and it could possibly upscale it to a higher sampling frequency, or do deep learning to figure out which frequencies were exactly missing. It's fascinating, because I didn't think that would be possible.
But see, here's the there could be some positive things happening with AI for the ITC field, or some negatives happening for the ITC field.
That's another that's a whole other podcast too.
I know.
You're
Yeah,
shaking
so
your head. I know. Yeah,
that's gonna be. It's gonna be. If you think people are faking evidence now and faking things now, it could get even worse and easier to do.
right. Yeah, that's and we might want to talk about that. I think our audience would also have a lot of interesting comments to contribute with that type of discussion. So that really is, we could cover that over a 2.5 hour period. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, I know it's getting a little late, but sorry for boring people, but you know what? It had.
It's what we do, Rob. We bore people.
Yeah, but I think it was a fun show. I know that some people got a little turned off by the topic, but you know what? It needed to be said, and we do things for a reason. Everything on this show is done for a reason, and it's all educational. Yeah, sometimes it's a lot of fun. I had fun, but
I'm supposed to say I had fun too, right? This is where I say I had fun.
You can say
I had fun.
It was boring as hell. The show sucked.
I bore myself. Like, I realize what I'm talking about, and I'm like, okay, now roll it off, like cut it off, like conclude your thought, because people are falling asleep. So I talk to myself as I'm talking to the audience.
DVR stuff. So direct response voice. It's pretty interesting. It's watch my video that I just posted, and you guys will see some amazing results. And is it direct response voice or response voice? I don't know.
Yeah.
It happens quite a bit.
It does, but yeah, it's, I don't, we're looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say if it is or not, but you guys have to make that determination. Exactly. And Josh is blown away. He's always messaging me and like, dude, look at, you got to hear what just happened. And I did the same thing with him. So
yeah, this goes on all week and week. Yeah, like minutes before he does his Saturday show, he's like, dude, look what I captured. I'm like, you're going live right now, and I'm at work. He's like, no, but you have to hear this. So it's going on all the time. Yeah,
it's crazy. But anyway, well, you guys have a great week. And
thank you, everyone.
Stay tuned for Saturday's show. It should be interesting. More crazy experiments happening. But
thank you for your time, your comments, everything. Thank you so much.
Yeah, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye. Take care.